2 of them are already going out on YouTube. We'll see if this one does as well. And this is your build. So you're doing air squadron speed. You're return speed, and then you're doing engine boost, attack aircraft. Yeah, because you want those rockets, right? You're buffing the HP on the rockets, and then you change to flight control. If I remember right, before you had concealment, so this is good. Bigo, have you noticed a difference, a tangible difference in making that change?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Are you using a special
change?
Knowing
What?
Big O, I'm sure it's a very positive change. Would you agree, Big O? Was it a positive change?
I mean, just 2 more planes.
Okay. All right. Is this a standard captain or somebody special?
You'd have to check the. I'm not sure.
Okay, don't worry about
Doesn't really matter too much. It's just
I don't
the
think so.
extra hit points for the planes, extra armor for the planes.
I mean, yeah,
If
that's
it's
it. Cunningham.
If it's Dunkirk, it doesn't do anything.
Yep. All right, so you've got engine boost duration, that extra 5%. Obviously, squadron speed, into aircraft armor, and then there's that sight stabilization. We talked about that before. The replays are a little bit buggy when it comes to looking at the reticle, so I don't necessarily know that we're going to see the difference here. Air supremacy for more aircraft preparation time or quicker prep time. And then, of course, you want to boost your AP rocket damage even more so. And then enhanced armor for extra reduction from AA explosions. And then finally, survivability expert gets you extra HP for your aircraft, also helps your rocket plane survive. For signals, ramming flag, and speed. Sure. I remember right from previous ones, you're trying to conserve your other flags, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Aren't you experienced enough in carriers to drop the aircraft armor tier 4 skill?
Can you explain what do you mean by that? Aren't you experienced enough, Grunty? What do you mean by that?
That skill protects or helps you only against flak. And flak is something you can actively dodge and even manipulate to a certain degree where it will shoot.
Okay, and how
So-
do you do that?
You do that by alternating speeds and or slightly changing the heading of your planes. You can even do it by alternating your height when you engage the attack mode. Because the flag takes your current speed and your current heading into account and predicts where it will be like in 2 seconds and shoots the flag there. So if you constantly change your speed, the flag will always be off.
Okay. So the reason I'm specifically asking that is that's something that sometimes I struggle with. I'll hit flak, so like I understand the idea of running enhanced aircraft armor simply for that. If you don't run enhanced aircraft armor, what would he run instead? I'm guessing the torpedo one?
It's probably up a bit to personal preference. You could go for the torps, so your torps deal a little bit more damage. You could also make your bombers a little bit faster.
Right.
You could even go so far and say, I want like 2-point skills. I take the arming distance for my torps.
Definitely.
Or you could take fire chance for your bombers. There's honestly a lot of options.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on then. Let's take a look at the replay and see how things go. And then Grunty, I'd love to kind of, as you're watching the replay, if you feel like there's moments when he's not dodging flak properly, call it out. And then what to do differently in order to do that dodging. I think that would be helpful for me and others as well, because that's something that, like I said, I'm not the best at myself.
The main thing with the flak is like you can pretty much always dodge it if you're if you're attacking a single ship. If you're attacking a cluster of ships where there's overlapping flags from multiple ships, at that point it can become impossible.
Okay.
But at that point, the skill probably doesn't help you because you're going to be hit by multiple flak clouds and your planes die anyway.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So, basically, either you're able to dodge the flak, in which case the skill isn't useful, or you're hitting too many ships and there's so much flak that it doesn't matter that you have a 25% reduction because you're going to die anyways. So that skill is only useful if you're attacking a single ship and taking flak bursts. Got it.
The skill will make you survive one flak burst, assuming it's not a flak burst enhanced by defensive fire.
Got it.
If you take 2 flak bursts, your planes are gonna die anyway, except maybe for FDR planes that have insane amount of hit points or so.
Got it. Okay, so let's take a look at this replay. This is a double carrier game. You've got some battleships on their enemy team, 4 cruisers that you can absolutely slap, and then you've got 2 destroyers and a sub. Now, you don't care about this destroyer. You don't care about the Growl, although you're I think you're flying a little bit too close to the anti-air flak there, but okay.
He's touched every single flak so far. Like, he hasn't taken it. That was a flak cloud. He flew right
There's
through.
one. I saw one hit, and that's it. But that was pretty good dodging, though, yes?
So far, yes, except for the one that he...
Yeah. You were, like, I feel like he could have gotten closer to the border, the boundary of the map, just to try to help him a little bit there, but... Now, the nice thing is, you've got a large, safe zone from which to choose to attack. And look, there's a broadside Colossus right down there. I have a feeling you're going to go for him.
Yeah, but
no?
Attacking from that
I don't
angle.
think he can
Not from
over
that
the
angle.
island.
Right. Okay.
AP rockets over islands is always iffy. You don't want to do this.
So, instead, you're going to be forced to get on the other side of it. So that's what you're doing right now. You're taking your time.
Stalking prey.
Looks like the Enterprise is going to go in too. So this is perfect. You let the Enterprise go in, aggro all of the planes, and then you go in. There's your engine boost.
What are you doing with your own hull, by the way?
22k. I might have waited for the Enterprise to actually get the drop-off first and then hit him, but that's fine. As far as his own ship, he's moving into that little safe corner, I suppose.
Oh, I spend a lot of time there.
Well, the nice thing about that corner is it kind of negates the enemy Colossus from being able to hit you, right?
For the most part, yes. And
I didn't expect the ship to actually make this turn. I thought it would beach there. The mini-make.
Oh, gotcha. I'm sure you're using waypoints, right? Using autopilot.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a good opportunity, by the way, to hit the Budioni. I don't know if you realize it or not. Looks like you might. You realize? I don't.
I wouldn't honestly do it. You started attacking the enemy CV, but I think you're already committed to taking it out at this point. Because what usually happens is you attack the enemy CV, and especially if it's also a Colossus, the best thing to survive with a Colossus is if it instead kills you. So every attack you make now that doesn't go in the Colossus gives the enemy Colossus time in return to take you out.
Right. Also, that second was way too greedy, and you saw it got you nothing. But I do agree with Richie there.
Really good AA for tier 8.
It doesn't, like, you're never gonna get through if you only have 2 planes left, because they just die to the continuous AA. It's a mistake I see people make a lot. They do one drop, and then they have not a full attack squadron left for a second drop, and still try to do the drop, and it pretty much never works out.
It's like, you're not a tactical squadron, you're not a hybrid, you're not a Russian. You really ought to be considering the number of planes you have, can attack with, and can recover.
You're basically making 2 mistakes in one. You're wasting time, and you're wasting your planes.
Right.
Like, and there are certain carriers in which these mistakes will fatally impact your performance because some planes cannot, some carriers just can't afford those losses. I'm mainly looking at Saipan, but because, you know, she takes 2 minutes a plane and she has so small squads, but the point still stands.
Akia too, she doesn't have that many planes, only 2 squadrons.
Which
you
is
don't want
why
to do it in
I do like the teamwork between you and the Enterprise, by the way. 1-2 punching that Grau. That was beautiful to watch.
Was a bad drop though.
Especially considering if you either
Yep.
come at him at 2 separate times, like back to back, meaning he can only focus fire one of those squadrons, or you come at him from 2 angles, meaning one squad is dealing with the focused AA, the other's dealing with the lighter side of it, so they can come back for another attack.
Bigo, are you... Okay, you have to go all the way around. You're gonna go for the side of the cross the door. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Although I wouldn't bother at this point. He's so low. He's gonna die before you even... Yeah, see?
Yeah, I don't bother. I go find something. Oh, I know what I do.
He's laughing. Why is he laughing?
You know why I'm laughing.
Now you can see that fighter plane you put down there when you launched, that's obviously to dissuade the enemy AP rockets from coming to you. I would say that's probably too close to your carrier. If you really wanted to dissuade him, I would make that farther out. Because you want those fighters to latch, right, and kill the planes that are attacking you.
I even called this shot.
The Amano?
Yep.
I mean, it's a Japanese light cruiser, dude. It's just gonna die. Like... Bye. Yeah.
That was just me.
That's the thing with AP rockets that I really do like about, especially on the Germans, or in this case Colossus. Light cruisers need to be very much careful of carriers, because you can absolutely punish a light cruiser for being on their own, despite the fact that they have the AA to dissuade you most of the time.
Yep.
It's worth
Kind of
trading.
even better on the German ones, just because their rockets have less of a delay.
Absolutely.
Like you can definitely angle against the Colossus. Like I've done it myself. Like Sas has the video on YouTube, I think, or not on YouTube yet, but we
It
covered
will be.
it. in
Your
my
Edinburgh game?
I mean,
Yeah.
You can definitely turn against 3.5 second delay. In the
Mhm.
Germans, it's way harder. Although,
Right.
admittedly, the Colossus hits way harder if it gets the attack off.
Yep.
And the thing is, though, despite the fact that your AP rockets are primarily geared towards punishing enemy cruisers, cruisers don't have that maneuverability, and they have more of a hittable area to where those rockets are more effective than those on other carriers.
That drop was too far forward. That's why I didn't get any citadels here.
Yeah, I realized that after I dropped it.
I like
But
how
then
you
I
kept
s-
watching it too, because you were expecting to watch a blowing up and exploding carrier, and it just didn't happen.
18 ships, 2 teams.
So
One
here,
What?
you can see the Enterprise moving behind me,
Yep.
and
Your
this is
position is
where
actually not good anymore because, like, you maneuvered yourself in the wedge, but you can neither go forward nor backward. You're
Mm-hmm.
pretty much stuck here. Which is a problem on this map. I don't like it very much for carriers, especially on this side. Because there's really
Yeah.
no good place to hide the ship.
That's true. Both sides have that issue.
The
And as
other
you can
side
see,
is
both carriers
the other
went
side
there.
is actually better because you don't have these small little wedges. You have 2 rather large islands you can sit behind it. Whereas this side here, you don't have enough room to maneuver to get behind these islands, and if you get behind it, then you're pretty much stuck there.
Okay.
But what I want to really point out here is, like, you started your first attack in the Colossus, and then you went again for it like 2 minutes ago, but you've still not finished it. Like, if you don't have the intention to actually kill a carrier, why even waste 2 attacks on it?
It might not be a matter of, just it might not just be a matter of damaging the carrier, despite the fact that I commonly see carriers trying to kill other carriers, but they're just wasting their squads. Sometimes distracting the enemy carrier can allow your destroyers leeway to do things against other ships and take
So-
cap zones.
That's a good point, because I have noticed that sometimes I'll do that with my carrier too. Like, I'll purposely drop on an enemy carrier that's like stationary or something, and then I hit it, and usually what happens is they get really timid and they back off, right? You see them going to the back. Look at that AP attacker crap. That carrier is like an Alpha 4 right now.
I mean,
Like-
it would be there anyway. Like,
Well, whether he's open or whether he's in cover, attacking the carrier, forcing him to either reposition and put himself in a position where you know he's going to be there, and your team can easily go, and now that he's taken defensive action, can go and hunt him down. Or it gives, again, your ships some leeway to where, okay, the carrier is no longer present, or he's focusing on more defensive action against you, to where he's not harassing other ships anymore.
Right. And the big thing about carriers, of course, is that the closer they are to the front, the quicker their planes are in the battle, the more effective they are. So forcing them to go defensive
especially
helps.
here with Colossus versus Colossus, right? His first attack was like 20,000. If he just comes back with the rockets against the Colossus right away, there is a decent chance he just takes it out right away, and then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the match.
No, I completely agree with you, Grunty. I'm just simply saying, like, there is something to be said as well about encouraging carriers to basically back off.
It's also worth mentioning the fact that despite that, you know, you're only doing a set amount of damage and you're not going after a kill on the carrier, that doesn't mean that damage is worth nothing. That damage is basically, it might be the only effective thing you could do as a carrier in that moment is attack the other carrier. Because when ships are either clustered up or supporting each other with AA bubbles, sometimes you're losing less planes but remaining effective, damaging the other carrier, and putting the carrier in a position where you could easily kill him later. Then
I have no issues with going after the carrier right away in the Colossus. I think it took too long here, but I don't have issues with it here. But I would have just finished it because, like, quite frankly, that's the one gimmick the Colossus has.
Yeah, the other challenge, I think, is the enemy team, right? The Grau went in the middle of the map, and that blocked a lot of Big O's opportunities to go straight to the carrier. And then, so he's starting to go around it, and then there's the Budioni. So, of course, oh, squirrel, right? You get a little distracted there, and drop on. I think that was the only part that goes back to what you were saying, right? Is you've got the ability to ignore a tier 6 cruiser in favor of getting the kill on the carrier. That, to me, I think, is the better decision. By the way, I like how you backed yourself into the island there, Big O. Did you do that with, like, manually moving the carrier? Because I don't see how autopilot could make that work.
Autopilot at this point where he is completely useless. It's not gonna get him out there, and it probably got him in this situation, to be honest. Which is another reason I don't like this mech. Like he's pretty much, he has an island behind it and he can't really do a forward turn either because there's not enough room. So he's pretty much stuck unless he does like a 5, 6, 7 point turn.
But who can shoot him right now? And he's also behind the sub. I mean, look at the Enterprise. The Enterprise is like, oh crap, and running away. He's gonna die. Where Big O is actually perfect because every time he spots the sub, his ASW just comes out and kills it. As a matter of fact, there it is right there.
Like, it's forcing the sub into a channel to where the carrier can defend itself, like, proper. And the depth charges are more than likely going to hit.
I mean, yeah, because the sub is stupid and is pinging the whole time instead of just doing it without the pings and without getting spotted.
But even then,
he's spotted. He's at periscope or whatever instead of, like, being down low. It's in-game. He's probably out of his whole, you know, whatever it's called. Diving charge? Whatever you want to call it?
Diving capacity.
Yeah.
And even if the submarine wasn't, like, even if the submarine was completely submerged, he has to come to periscope depth in order to try and properly spot you.
Right,
because
to see him.
Because most of the time, subs are a little too attached to their hydroacoustic torpedoes. They'll ping, giving the carrier, like the AI depth charges, the ability to respond. And because the submarine has to go into those channels, the submarine can't evade those depth charges as well. So it's
You were super lucky here, by the way. That was a horrible drop, and you're lucky you got the fire.
You got one fire. You know, while we've been talking about all this, I did want to comment too. I think it would have been better for Big O to be going after the Amagi.
No. Killing that ship was right, but his attack angle was horrible.
Okay.
Like, he could have lined this up alongside and get all his bombs on it, not rely on a fire.
So why kill the North Carolina instead of the Amagi? Because look, the
Because it's
Amagi is spotting him now. He's on the side.
because the Amagi is already low. You take the North Car is already low. You take out the guns first.
Okay.
That,
Plus,
arguably speaking, I would rather take out the bigger AA threat first in the late game since there's so few ships left. Because if you take out the bigger AA threat while you have the planes to do it, then you won't have to rely on smaller squadrons to go after him. You can do the consistent damage you need to take out the bigger AA threat on the board first. And then since Amagi doesn't have as good AA as North Carolina does, you can use your smaller squadrons to maintain that consistent damage.
Okay. And there's game.
Set and match.
by the way, the
Let's take a
Archaea
look at the replay.
can 3-strike a Colossus too. I didn't even realize it was an Archaea on the enemy team, which is another
Yeah.
reason to not be stuck without movement between islands. It's
So
tricky
the
for an Archaea to do these drops. You need to know what you're doing in an Archaea, but it can be done.
but at the same time, like, there's really nowhere else on this map, like you said. It's just
No,
where can he go?
there's no good place where you can sit, which is why I don't like wedging myself in a position where I can't move anymore. Because ideally, at some point, you might want to move again.
A carrier can run, but the problem on this map is, yeah, there's cover in most parts of the map, but the problem is this is not a lengthwise map to where a carrier can just move cover to cover or pick a flank and, hang around there. If the carrier gets spotted by the other carrier on this map, almost anybody can open fire on it, making it so where if the carrier picks the wrong flank to open water but hang it back in, they're screwed.
And that's the problem.
Taking
this is
cover
also
on
why I-
this map is the only, realistically speaking, the only thing you can do to at least make sure you're relevant for longer rather than risk getting caught with your pants down. How the heck did I win again? This is rigged.
It is rigged. So, I mean, I think the idea of Big O moving there initially makes perfect sense to me. Now, he could have taken an opportunity to leave. Look at what happened to the Enterprise as soon as the Aquila decides, okay, I'm sick of you carriers, right? You're very fortunate that the enemy Colossus did not work together at the same time. You, what? You were thinking this map is top tier 7? No. I've seen tier 10 games on this, I think.
Tier 9, not tier
no.
7.
It depends what tier game gets put in and what tier ships join it.
I mean, I know for sure I did tier 9s on this map. But in any case,
Like, see, like at this point, if you pause, like,
Gabe's in the voice
like
chat
if you
with me.
if you were in a position where you could actually move, like after you see that your team wins the BNC so hard, it would have been quite like it would be beneficial if you could actually move over to the BNC cap and have safety there. Like, yes, you're more far away from the battle, and your planes take longer to get over, but at the same time, your risk of getting caught out by whatever is basically zero.
So I think that's one of those kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't moments. Because here's the thing. I don't know if I can rewind it too far back. Let's see. It might just totally screw things up. But okay, so here. You won the C cap for the most part. The Zetan's still over there, so it hasn't quite happened yet. Right?
No, I think the ground needs to die, and after that point, it's safe to move over.
Oh, there's a guppy over there. I wouldn't move my carrier there right now. Let's continue a little bit more. Master Arn, if you're here, say something in chat, please.
You obviously have to play for this site and make sure that it gets clear.
Sure. So, okay, so now there goes the cross at Dorn. What I'm looking at is I'm trying to think of, okay, who can possibly spot his carrier, first of all, right? Second, who can shoot the carrier? That's the North Carolina and the Amagi at this point. I don't think there's anybody else on this flank just yet.
No,
The sub.
I guess my whole point is here, what I would try to do, it's hard, it's kind of hard, it takes a while, But I would like if he was like an 180-degree flip. If he would be facing forward, that gives him an option to move. Because
So
right
in
now
other
he
words,
can't. He's stuck.
okay. So in other words, when he first goes into this position, instead of going straight through the channel and pointing southwest, you would prefer him to go between both of those islands, right? And then kind of hook around and then be pointed northeast or northwest, I mean. So southeast and northwest,
Yes.
right? Right. So go through those two islands and then make kind of like a loop, like a question mark curl, and then that way also that helps your planes too with getting them into the battle quicker, but it gives you that escape route if you need it to go forward and right. Okay, that makes sense. Does that make sense, Big O?
Yeah.
I haven't said a word this whole time.
I know.
Is
It's
every time
unusual
I
for you.
Every time I tried to say something, I got cut off.
What would you like to say, sir?
Well, it's a little late now, so.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Grunty. Thank you, Monday.
What?
Wait, why am I being
Thank
thanked?
you for cutting me off every time I tried to speak during the replay.
I'm sorry.
I never heard you trying to speak, honestly.
I went to say something and you started talking. I did it again. You did it again. Every single time. And I've been watching it. My mic is lit up. And you just cut me off.
Well,
I'm sorry.
he probably isn't watching the Discord, so he doesn't see that the mic's lit up. But at the same time,
But if he's
I get it.
watching,
I understand.
the stream, he should be able to see the chat ads pop up. It's not that hard.
But that's
blame the
delayed.
daily.
All right, well, let's just move on from this because we don't have a lot of time.
Thank you, Pud. Anyways, so Big O, I think one of the big questions that was brought up, and let's just wait and let him answer then. Why did you not follow through with a second strike on the Colossus after that first?
Had to kill cruisers.
Why?
Because if not, they would have killed the two CVs. They had the clear open shot to us.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And our battleships were too busy engaging theirs.
okay. So let's rewatch. So there's your first rocket planes. They're going to swing around, and they're going to just absolutely chunk the Colossus. All right, now here comes your follow-up. This is the one that we thought, okay, you're going to go and whack him. You had a couple of choices here. You go through the middle. Obviously, there's the Cross of Dorn and the Growl, so you can't fly through that flak. Why did you not go up like the one line? Like the first time you went up there?
I wasn't thinking. I was thinking tech one of the two cruisers, reset B, do something to help the middle, to be honest.
Okay. So what I'm getting at is your idea was not, I'm going to go kill the carrier now. Your idea was, all right, I chunked him. Let me go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. So understanding that explains exactly why you behaved the way you did with your AP rockets. Now, I know Grunty has already said why you should have followed up and killed the carrier, so we don't need to have that conversation again. Let's continue. Your rockets are going...
It clearly didn't upset him because he never went after me the whole match.
I'm really surprised by that. Because my experience with Colossus, now I don't have a lot of them, but as soon as you hit that one, even any carrier, as soon as you hit that one, a lot of times the carrier likes to pay you back in kind. So you're very fortunate that did not happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be very like if I had an Enterprise and an IKEA and a Colossus on the same team, I'd be wanting them to work together with the AP rockets to take out the enemy Colossus. It's so easy.
Oh yeah. I mean, in a 2-carrier game, that's the first thing that I'm going to ask the other carrier. Hey, do you want to work together to snipe the one thing that counters us really well, right? If they say yes, cool. Let's both go after the blank carrier. Take that down, then you take the other one down, and now, as a carrier player, you've got the whole map to deal with. You can just pick people off as you please, right? But this is a smallish map. The Grau is extremely threatening right now. Fortunately, there's 2 battleships right there that could smack him. I saw his defensive anti-air was up. That's when you tried to make that drop on him. And the Budioni is going to die to the Chumfon. There he goes.
I do have to say, I do like the fact that, because the way the map is, right, your guys control, at least for a little bit, the far left-hand side, and then they're kind of just sandwiched between the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like you're dealing with like this checkered sandwich of a board here, but focusing on the middle to at least try and gain some kind of control to kind of unify your team's line was really just useful in general, because now, instead of having to worry about enemies on like all sides, you guys have this kind of unified front that can at least hold the enemy back away from you.
Mm-hmm. All right. How you doing, Thread? I don't know what you mean. Are you 10 minutes? Here comes your smack on the Omono. Poor guy.
No, that was
Okay.
a bad one.
Now, this is the point at which C is now completely wide open. So this is the part where Grunty said, go to C. This is your opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, you didn't. Did you not think about that, Big O, or did you purposely say, I'm staying here because something?
I'm staying here because, well, 1, the load detect on the ship. 2, when I started to move, I actually got stuck.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
say. I think he can't get out of this position where he got in. Like, you need to manually steer your ship. The autopilot is not getting you out there. It's bad.
Mhm.
I mean, I think I might have intentionally done it, reversed and then hard right, just to be into the island. That way it would keep both islands, keep me skinny, and nothing could see me.
I mean,
Unless it was TV.
I loved how you backed into that island. That was really cool to see. Because yeah, I mean, you just basically were hiding behind it. They couldn't see you, and they couldn't do anything with the sub too. So that was really cool to see. And then of course your ASW just took him out. So
Yeah, so much for CV's hiding in the back, right?
mm,
It's honestly kind of baffling that the Enterprise left this side and came here too for pretty much no reason.
I think the Enterprise thought the exact same thing, which is safety and also anti-air bubble. The 2 of you together helps to prevent from getting smacked. I mean, the Enterprise, of course, lost a lot of damage to the Aquila.
I wouldn't have left if I was the Enterprise. I would have tried to, like, see where I'm currently at. If I was the Enterprise, I would have tried to get my ship into that little nook right there.
I mean,
And then
where the Enterprise was perfectly fine. I don't think he needed to move at all. But, you know, or if he did move, like Grunty said, going C would have been the smarter play for him. Here's the part where now you're moving with your autopilot. And then I'm guessing this is autopilot causing you to jackknife in the channel.
yeah. And then when I realized, like, hey, I'm better off here, I just hit stop.
Yeah.
And canceled the
And
autopilot.
now it's definitely too late to get out. It's too close.
Of course. But it's okay because who's his threats? I mean, the sub and the 2 battleships, and they're all pretty much in the same area behind the island.
And the Akia, if he would try.
And oh,
But
sure,
he
the enemy
didn't.
carrier. The enemy carrier, though, in order to strike Big O right now, has to go through the Talon. And the Akat's not a threat to the carrier. But what I'm getting at is there's 2 other targets on the way. Very easy for that carrier player to become distracted and say, "Oh, let me hit the town." As a matter of fact, are those torpedo bombers coming in on the town right now?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Probably.
So, you know,
I mean,
and,
I would probably be attacking the Talon here too if I was the enemy IKEA.
right, because he's close to threatening the carriers, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make is really it's just these 3 ships that Big O has to worry about. Now, unfortunately for your Enterprise, he panicked, gets himself detected, and shot. I think if he actually stayed where he put himself before, he would have lived longer. He probably still would have died, but I think he would have lived longer.
I think he would have got spotted there if he had moved where that square-ish island is, and just like sat longways with it. You would have been fine. Like right under where those double fighters are. That
yeah,
island.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Sure. Look at the points. It's pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah, this match actually it had my adrenaline rushing because I didn't know if we were gonna win or lose, and it was just like blow for most of the match.
You know what I like about it, Big O, is it's not the game I expected to see out of you.
What did you expect?
I expected
You
to
in
see
the
you
B camp.
yeeting cruiser after cruiser after cruiser after cruiser and laughing about it the whole time. But this is you playing a more traditional carrier role, which is kind of nice to see.
That was the Butch drop, by the way.
On the North Carolina, yeah.
Yeah.
It's stupid, but it works.
It's still
Well-
stupid.
But it worked.
Okay.
All he
it's
needed was
still
one
stupid.
fire. What was that, Puddin?
If it's stupid and it's work, it's still stupid, right?
I
Yeah,
just
I
think,
mean-
like in general, like for every carrier player, like he didn't die there. The island kind of worked in his favor, but
Mhm.
you really want to make sure that your CV is in a safe position. But at the same time, if something in the match changes, you want to be able to leave your safe position and relocate.
Yeah.
Without any problems, aka running into islands 5,000 times.
Right.
Even if I was able to get free, right? I wasn't going anywhere. Colossus only goes 25, 26 with the flag. I would have been dead by the time I turned the
Even
corner.
if you want to stay, like you have the time here to set your autopilot around to just turn a ship you around 180 degree. Like you go all the way down to the border on the J line, do the 180 there, and then move back up north again. And then you're pretty much in the same position, but your ship is turned the other way, which lets you, Sas said earlier, for one, it's great because your planes actually take off in the right direction. So
Mhm.
they don't have to do a 180, which means they get to the target quicker.
Right.
And if something happens, you can just shoot forward and get out.
Right. Now, I do want to point out, I mean, the Grau is dead. Realistically speaking, there's a compression on the video, but realistically speaking, there's only a small window of opportunity for Big O to start moving, and it's right now. It's literally about a 2-minute window. So the difficulty is there's so many things that you're doing in the game. It's difficult to just recognize that and say this is something for me to move to now. Honestly, I would rather he do what he did than make the decision to leave, but at the wrong time, get spotted and sunk. So, you know, there's definitely some nuances involved in the course of trying to figure out what it is that needs to be done. The point is, it is a win. It's definitely not something going back to the drop or going back to this positioning. These are good opportunities to learn, but you know, it's not necessarily something that you're going to look at. I'm sure Big O's not looking at this and saying, "Oh, I'm going to do the same kind of drop on the North Carolina again next time." You know, this is it's nice that we're doing this. We can highlight some of the mistakes, but we're also able to highlight, you know, what worked. Okay. Anything else to discuss in regards to this replay?
Just coming back because you asked at the start, I didn't see anything where he took a huge amount of flak, except for that one flak at the start.
Up along the side. So what that means, Big O, is that final 4th point is probably better suited someplace else. You can get more damage throwing it into torpedoes or your bombers or whatever. So something to consider.
I mean, I generally keep it for the tier 10 matches.
It
Okay.
doesn't. I mean, as far as the power level of the flak is concerned, like the damage per flak burst, it doesn't change anything. What does change at tier 10 is probably the ships individually shoot out more flak, which can make it more difficult to dodge it.
Or the higher range. Like the flag reaches out farther, right? So there's more time you're spending in that flag cloud.
Is that actually true? Is there a difference between flak ranges between a tier 8 and a tier 10?
Sure.
Maybe.
I mean, Nevsky's what, 6.9?
Yeah, the Russians are special.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yeah, balance combat.
I was looking at thinking I don't think a Baltimore has less flak range than a Des Moines, for example. But yeah, the Russian Nevsky is definitely a thing in the Petro.
Sure. So, regardless, I mean,
it's not a totally wasted skill. Like I can see why people get it. It lets you get away with something when you don't pay too much attention. But I think it's easily a skill that an experienced CV player can drop and instead get something that buffs the damage.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move on from this replay then.